Hello everyone and welcome to this press conference after today's Envy Council. Still Niels, Coreper 1 spokesperson, not for too long anymore, of the Belgian presidency. With us in the press room today we have our Minister Alain Marant, and we have for the Commission, Commissioner Sinkevicius and Commissioner Hoekstra. I will first give the floor to Minister Marant, then to Commissioner Sinkevicius, and then to Commissioner Hoekstra for a short readout of the results of today's meeting. We will then take some questions, and as we are in Luxembourg, there is also the possibility to raise your hand online if you have questions. But we will first take the questions in the floor and then come to those online. Mais d'abord, Ministre, à vous la parole.
First of all, you have the floor, Minister.
Thank you very much, Niels. Good evening, everyone. Today was an important day for the nature and for our environment. And let me start once again by expressing my satisfaction that we have been able to approve the final compromise text on the NRL. The compromise found between the Parliament and the Council is the result of hard work, which has paid off finally today. Last week on Friday, at the request of a majority of the Council, we modified the A item on the NRL into a B item for discussion, as we did not have a clear view on where we stood at that time. A lot has been said over the past weeks and months, but today the Council finally managed to reach the qualified majority for which many Member States have to be thanked. Today, the Council has made a choice to restore nature in Europe, thereby protecting its biodiversity and the living environment of European citizens. It is our duty to respond to the urgency of the collapse of biodiversity in Europe, but also to enable the European Union to meet its international commitments. But, in fact, there was more than the NRL on today's agenda. After the NRL, we were able to unanimously adopt the Waste Framework Directive, a text that aims to reduce food waste and textile waste to resource-intensive sectors as part of our drive to build a green and circular economy. With regard to food waste, and more specifically the reduction targets, discussions within the Council have shown that the level of reduction targets proposed by the Commission represents the right balance between ambition and feasibility. The proposed directive sets binding targets for food waste reduction by 2030, 10% in processing and manufacturing, 30% per capita in retail, restaurants, food services, and households. With regards to used textiles and textile waste, the compromise text is more ambitious than originally proposed, with the extension of the producer responsibility schemes. The compromise text also adds a possibility for Member States to impose higher fees on fast fashion and ultra-fast fashion producers. We continued with the adoption of the so-called Green Claims Directive. It aims at protecting consumers from greenwashing. Across the EU as a whole, more than half of environmental claims are vague, misleading or unfounded with regard to the environmental characteristics of products, and a considerable proportion of claims are completely unfounded. Our aim is to help European citizens to make well-founded green choices. After intensive work, we reached a balanced agreement to achieve exactly this goal, while keeping the burden on enterprises manageable. To ensure this, we, for example, introduced a simplified procedure for certain claims. We also widened the scope to include micro-enterprises. But to help them apply the requirements of the directive, we have proposed a number of support measures, including a later application date. Finally, we also adopted the general approach on the soil monitoring law. This important text must contribute to achieving the objective of having healthy soils by 2050. That's essential for agriculture, biodiversity, and the fight against climate change. Healthy soils increase agricultural productivity, reduce the need for chemicals, and improve food security. However, soil is a fragile and non-renewable resource which is currently at risk, with over 60% of Europe's soil in poor health and deteriorating further. This proposal aims to reverse this negative trend. It establishes a coherent and comprehensive framework for monitoring all soils in the European Union. After the launch, we approved conclusions on the midterm review of the ACE Environmental Action Programme. They pave the way forward to green, just and inclusive transition for a sustainable Europe. This programme defines a framework for action up to 2030 with 6 thematic objectives covering climate adaptation and mitigation, the circular economy, biodiversity, the fight against pollution, and of course all the associated enabling conditions. We also held a policy debate on the EU's 2040 climate targets. We all agree that a 2040 target presents challenges and opportunities. This objective should reinforce our competitiveness and strengthen our strategic autonomy while leaving no one behind. We should continue to lead by example at the international level and make a timely decision well ahead of the next CAP, and to guarantee predictability and mobilize the necessary investment for our businesses. That's all from my side for now. I'll now leave the floor to the Commissioner.
Commissioner Sinkevičius, go ahead.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. So, summarizing Alain's speech, that was a good day. That was a good day, and that was definitely a very good mandate. And I'm really thankful, first of all, to the Belgian presidency for running a very productive council today and for their constructive attitude to these extremely important matters. More than anything, we saw today how the Green Deal is still very much alive. When we adopted the deal back in 2019, it was the most ambitious environmental package Europe had ever seen. And many people have doubted the ability to deliver. I actually remember my last press conference back in Brussels after the Council. Many doubted if we will come across the finish line on nature restoration law. And I'm truly proud that on the huge majority of files we have proved the critics wrong. And as we saw today, the work continues to deliver the rest. And of course, let me start expressing my strong satisfaction for the final adoption of the nature restoration law. As you know, this has been a long journey. As we are in Euros now, we played some extra times, even so we didn't want to. But I think at the end of the day, we've managed to win. And I hope that political, ideological battles are over now, and we will move on into the implementation of this landmark agreement, working closely together with the member states. This is a landmark law, the first law on nature after over 30 years, a law that we very much need to reverse the dramatic biodiversity crisis, which is accelerating at unprecedented pace and which is also slowing down and hindering our efforts to address climate crisis. So healthy nature is our best ally in the fighting against climate change and in our efforts towards adaptation. And this law, strongly supported by citizens, scientists, NGOs, industry, financial sector, and many other stakeholders which have mobilized and stressed how much this is important for their future. This is a law that is will also confirm to our international partners, sending a very clear signal that the EU is serious about its international commitments on biodiversity and will hopefully inspire others to follow. I'm truly proud that we are going to Colombia not empty-handed. And the Commission is now very much looking forward to start implementation with the Member States and all the communities and stakeholders involved. We also made very good progress on 3 outstanding files where the Council adopted its mandate for trilogues, opening the path for their swift finalization together with the new Parliament. So the first of these was the targeted revision of the Waste Framework Directive with the focus on food waste and textiles. And the Presidency text is well balanced and very much preserves the spirit of the Commission proposal. On the textile parts, I reminded ministers of the importance of avoiding an unfair administrative burden on small enterprises or accidentally penalizing the reuse sector. And the Commission fully agrees with the need to tackle fast fashion, but we still need a bit more data on how to do that most effectively. The Commission reserves its position at this stage, but I remain very optimistic about a swift finalization of the text. The second major point on the agenda was the Commission's Green Claim proposal, another deliverable under the European Green Deal and the Circular Economy Roadmap, and it's an important element in that plan because it empowers consumers and gives them the confidence they need to buy green products. The Presidency text contains many improvements, clarifying the scope, and simplifying enforcement for the competent authorities, but here too I reminded the ministers of the need to avoid unnecessary complications and to avoid penalizing micro-enterprises with excessive paperwork. I also recall the need for effective sanctions if we want the end result to bring noticeable improvements, and the Commission will of course support Council and Parliament by any means as we move towards finalization. Third major environmental file this morning was the Commission proposal on soil monitoring, which we presented last July. Soil is currently one big gap in our nature protection legislation, so it's reassuring to see the broad support to the proposal. I recall the role of soil that plays in mitigating biodiversity loss and climate change, safeguarding human health and improving food security. I welcome the text presented by the Presidency, although I regretted that sustainable soil management principles, they were made voluntary, and the deletion of the soil health certification that could incentivize and reward landowners for taking good care of the soil. We really have a lot to gain from this directive, so the Commission will be happy to keep working with the Council and the Parliament towards positive outcome as early as possible. Those were the very positive points of today's discussion, and I should add the Council conclusions on the 8th Environmental Action Programme to that, which are timely and very welcome. So, summarising, it was truly a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hoekstra.
Thank you very much, and ladies and gentlemen, very good evening to all of you. First, let me thank Alain for the great work he and the team have done in the last 6 months. I think our previous press conference was somewhere in March, and I think we have another truly productive set of weeks behind us with great work also on my part of the portfolio. Today we focused on 2 important parts of the discussion that will continue to stay with us for the years to come. One was the discussion on the 2040 recommended targets, and the second was during lunch, as Alain said, how to manage climate risks. Let me first say a couple of things on 2040. My understanding, listening to the ministers, is that there is broad support for an ambitious 2040 target. And there is also broad support for continuing the discussion on the prerequisites that come with the target, particularly on the angles of competitiveness, of a just transition, of making sure there's predictability for our citizens and our businesses, and also linking this to the, as many ministers have said, the financial angle that of course comes with it. On that last one, we clearly need to ensure the best use of public funds to make sure we attract also private capital that is necessary to achieve our climate goals, and we need to, of course, invest in a decarbonized power sector, in clean industrial processes and in technologies in this just transition. There are many different innovative possibilities to build on the certainty that comes from setting a clear target and providing a clear price incentive, including the use of the revenues from our emission trading systems. And the social dimension, of course, will be borne in mind throughout. Of course, it is up to the next Commission to continue this discussion, but I do feel we had a very important and very good conversation today, which, by the way, will also help us in shaping the discussion for the EU nationally determined contribution to NDCs ahead of COP30. And again, up to the next Commission, but I hope we can embark on a general approach before that COP. Second discussion during lunch was on climate risk management, and as I appreciate many of you will have heard from various member states that increasingly this, next to all the items on mitigation, this is on their agenda as well. And the reality simply is that climate change has already been part of life and will only continue, unfortunately, to be part of our life. That we simply cannot do just with mitigation. We will need to do more on adaptation, on risk management, and making sure that we see what is coming. So that clearly will be something that will be with us going forward. I'm very grateful to the Belgian presidency for putting this issue on the agenda. This clearly has been the half year where we have done more on this than in the past. And one of the clear elements many member states mentioned was how to deal with the governance, knowing that the implementation and many of the actions are of course local, that also many member states have a lot of knowledge on how to deal with this, and yet at the same time there is clear appetite for sharing best practices and streamlining our approach, if that is the way to phrase it. And my read was that the exchange also clearly reflected a broad recognition of the urgency to step up work on climate resilience. It indicates that there are benefits to working more closely together. Finally, but it was a relatively brief discussion, we touched upon the Innovation Fund, where one of the objectives clearly is, of the auction clearly is to support the creation of a renewable hydrogen market at a European level, doing so in a cost-effective manner, and that was fully achieved with the awarded bids. Thanks also, by the way, to the competition we managed to generate at an EU level, and frequent and deep discussions with member states like we had today, in our view, are absolutely essential to further implement climate action also in this realm. Let me close there. I've tremendously appreciated the close cooperation with the Belgian presidency. Very much looking forward also to working together with the Hungarian presidency all the way up to COP29, which, frankly speaking, is just around the corner. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And speaking about climate, let's create the right climate for asking questions right now. And we will first take the questions in the room, and then we will go online. I see that Louise has a question. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, it should be good. Do you hear me well? Yeah. So Luis Guillot for Politico. I have actually two quick questions. First to Minister Marron and Commissioner Sienkiewicz. Do you think that the position that the Council adopted today on the green claim files goes far enough really to protect consumers against greenwashing, considering that the language, especially on carbon offsets, and how companies can claim carbon offsets has been weakened by member states? And second question to Commissioner Sienkiewicz, from the point of view of the Commission, is the initiative or the push by France, Austria, the Netherlands and Finland on textile waste going maybe too fast or too far, by making fast fashion sellers pay more for recycling through EPR scheme, in your opinion? Thank you.
For the green claims, of course, it's a balance after discussions. But just as I said, we considered that the text is still really ambitious, and in any case, we are going in a good direction. That's the beginning of a new kind of protection of the consumers in Europe. So we really think that we had to go in this direction, thanks to the Commission and the work of the Member States.
Thank you very much for both of your questions. So on green claims, I think Council has adopted a balanced text, a text that could be adopted today and go forward to the trilogues. But I'm pretty sure that on this file, Parliament will be very ambitious. We already hear that they very much look into discussion on this file in the Parliament. So I think Commission will have a tough job balancing out. The most important that we empower our consumers. I think, we saw that in the past years when the green started to sell well, that some companies have cut the corner. And that also, undermines the efforts that have been put by the companies who are truly green, who are truly sustainable. So we have to promote those and, of course, fight the greenwashing. So I wouldn't say that it's the end of this discussion, but most importantly for us to ensure that it would be implementable on the ground. So I always say that better maybe be a bit modest with the ambition, but ensure that we start with the right foot, and that's implementable across the member states. On number of member states' proposal on EPR schemes for fast fashion, well, this one of the topic that I was extremely happy to kick off discussions on, and fast fashion. We even went with the motto of fast fashion going out of fashion, because of course the huge pressure and waste of resources that fast fashion creates, it's still probably not even accounted fully for. However, for Commission to go with such a proposal, that would require more data. That's why we did not go further than that. However, I think again that's a one of the things that will be discussed in the trilogues, that everyone will be looking for an ambitious outcome.
Thank you. I saw that there was a question here in front.
So Javier Alviso for the Spanish news agency EFE. Sorry. Yeah, so I have a question for the Belgian minister first. I would like to know if the net restoration law deal is sealed. It cannot be, because in Austria there are now claims they're going to go to a court of justice anyhow. No, you consulted the legal service. They say sealed, but I would like you to tell me how sealed it is, if it's the end of the journey or we can still expect another extended time, as Commissioner said. And then for both of you, Commissioners, I would like to, you both talked about conversations that will continue, and I would like to know whether you expect or you want, do you think that you will be part of this next Commission that is being now designed precisely in this moment in Brussels, whether you will be maybe carrying on these conversations on climate targets or other issues. Thank you.
About the NRL, it's now approved. We respected all the rules and the way to do it. And we were in close contact with the Council administration to be sure that everything is all right in the procedure. And everything is all right with the procedure. So the law is approved by the Council. There are problems in Austria and controversy in Austria, but that's internal affairs in Austria. That's another point, and other business. And I understood there is still a majority there after today. About your other question, it's difficult to answer really about what are the following steps with the next Commission. We'll see. I will not be there anymore to follow the next Commission. You are probably more informed than me about the composition of the next Commission and the future ambitions of the Commissions. But I can say that there is a kind of legacy. We have decided in this mandate, this Commission worked a lot. We were at the far end of the mandate, the 6 last months. Our target was to obtain agreement on several files, and we did it. So all those files, many files are approved, and on several files we have a general approach from the Council. It will remain in any case. And as Commissioner Sinkevicius just said, I've understood today more than ever that the Green Deal is still really alive and will remain alive in the future.
As much as I appreciate the question, it's when I became a minister in October 2017, and I looked through the ministerial handbook. It said on chapter 1, page 1, never to answer hypothetical questions. And I've always stuck with that recipe, even when I became a commissioner. I'm sure Commissioner Sinkevicius is going to do the better part of the answer.
Thank you. I'll stick with the same boring line, but Lithuania hasn't put any name forward, but the procedure is clear. It's proposed by the government and approved by the president and the parliament of the country. Well, we'll see. I think tonight is going to be an interesting night, and things will start developing from tonight.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Maïwan Lamy for Context. I have another question on the nature restoration law. A major concern raised by several member states today, and it had been before, was regarding the financing for this legislation. So my question would be for Commissioner Sinkevicius. How can the European Commission answer those concerns? Can you, propose something for them? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, the decisions has been adopted regarding the biodiversity the funding already, and we just need to follow up and implement them. I think, of course, overall budget will be a big discussion for the future Commission and the future Parliament. Clearly, the current budget as it is of the EU is not enough, and it's going broader than just environmental topic. But that's something that, of course, member states need to agree as well. Now we'll have, with the implementation of the nature restoration law, 2 years for member states to prepare their plans. So the level of the ambition, the possibilities of the funding will be also very well exposed there. One thing which we keep on forgetting, we always keep on sort of looking for fresh money, but we forget what we have agreed at in Montreal, and which is set in GBF, is the harmful subsidies. So maybe this is also a possibility and potential for additional funding, is not to sort of put €1 in and €4 out, but to ensure that we actually move forward.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Laura Mercier also for Context. I have a question for all three of you on the 8th Environmental Action Programme. It's quite an ambitious to-do list for the next mandate, so how confident are you that the next Commission is going to follow up on that? and that the two co-legislators will also support this agenda, considering that today's political landscape is less consensual when it comes to the green transition. Thank you.
The Commission has a right of initiative, so let's go. Anyone wants to answer that?
I'll be just very short. First of all, ATAP, it was from the very beginning a big dilemma because we had a Green Deal, which was a game changer. Before that, environmental action program was sort of our environmental climate vehicle on the ground. Now, with the Green Deal, we need to balance out both of them. So I think, equally crucial is going to be the implementation of both of them. I see no major threats because the coalition in the parliament has not changed. It's the very same coalition. So I truly hope that it's going to be strong pro-European coalition pushing for the implementation of the EU legislation.
We have the Environment Commissioner in the room, so I'm not going to comment on that, but let me say something on the future of our climate policy. My view is that we need to continue with climate action and with ambitious climate action, not because I say so or because any politician here says so, but simply because our scientists are telling us that the time is running out and we have no alternative. Having said that, it is, in my view, of tremendous importance that we make sure that this enhanced climate action goes hand in hand with three other things, and that would leave you with 4 pillars in total. One is clear climate action. The second one is competitiveness, which centers around making sure that our industry actually flourishes and that we do more to make sure we have a level playing field. The third one is a just transition. Interestingly enough, roughly 80% of European citizens are in favor of more climate action, but many of them actually worry what climate action makes up for their own lives and for their jobs that might be changing. So just transition is, in my view, extremely important to take ever more into account. So that is the third one. And the fourth one is the international dimension. As much as I'm in favor of doing more at a European level, because we have the affluence and we can take responsibility, the reality is also that climate change is indiscriminate. So what happens outside will still have effects, huge effects on European soil. And 93% of emissions actually do take place outside of the European Union. So if we truly want to solve this problem, we need to become ever more proactive in our efforts abroad. And one of the clear things we need to do is make sure that we move others also in the direction of carbon pricing, which in my view is by far the most effective tool humanity has in dealing with this problem.
And I can add that in the Council conclusions on this point, there is a request to the Commission to set up an action plan to secure the post-25 program objectives. So there was a clear call to the next Commission.
Thank you all. I don't see any questions in the room, so we can go to Brussels and a little bit to Austria as well. Rafaela, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Rafaela Scheidreiter, for the Austrian TV and radio. Yes, thank you, Niels. You said it correctly. Again, please, question on the Austrian situation. So if I understood correctly, you are not afraid that the law could be overturned, even though the Austrian Chancellor wants to file an action for annulment with the European Court of Justice, as he thinks the Environmental Minister, Leonore Gewessler, legally did not have the right to vote yes today. But my question is, could you please elaborate a bit more what exactly the assessment of your legal services looks like? So what kind of questions did the legal services try to answer? Thank you.
Really, I'm not sure it's the good moment to go inside legal considerations about that. What I just said is that we checked before the beginning of the meeting today that everything was all right and that all the ministers in the room had the ability to vote and the right to vote. In fact, that's the rules, the official rules of the Council. It's just impossible to work in another way. Can you imagine that someone in the room can say, oh no, you cannot vote that because I'm not sure that your government is completely agree or completely agrees. We cannot work like that. That's why there are very precise rules inside the Council to work properly, and we respect all the rules. And the Austrian vote is just one vote among other votes, but this vote is just correct, just like the other, and is legal just like the other ones. There is a controversy in Austria, but there are from time to time controversies in many files amongst the 27 countries member of the Council. Just something that can happen, in fact. It's, of course, very important for internal affairs in Austria, but regarding the Council, it's not so important.
Thank you, Minister.
In fact, to be more precise, in accordance with Article 16 of the Treaty of the European Union, the Council shall consist of a representative of each member state at ministerial level who may commit the government of the member state in question and cast its vote. The Austrian minister was in the room, so she votes for Austria.
Thank you for that clarification. Are there any further questions? Let me check in the room. And I don't see any further questions online, so this means that we can wrap up this press conference. See you tomorrow for the press conference after the Transport Council. Thank you.